Hello, everybody, and welcome to the Plus3 Futures and Commodities Show. My name is Ben Maldonado. It is April 14th, Friday at around 3:30 East Coast time. Half an hour to go in the markets. We're starting early on the recording today. As always, I'm here with my partner, Barry Hederachi. How you doing, Barry?
Doing pretty good. Hello, hello.
Yeah, busy week, busy week. So we got
sometimes.
we got a decent amount to cover. Barry, of course, covers what we call the big five, which is ES, bonds, gold, copper, crude oil, and the dollar and the euro. And on commodity side today, I'll be covering highlighting corn and soybeans and coffee. So a lot of stuff there has sort of finished a leg. We have to see what comes next, and we'll talk more about that when we get in there. But let's start off with Bitcoin. What Bitcoin did this week was what we've been saying for the last sort of month and a half, is consolidation. Odds were, because it was sticking so close to this full square, was going to break through it. We did that, and now we're sort of slowly and calmly pushing higher. The big test is going to be, by the way, all these levels are on a Google Doc spreadsheet, which I will post when we post the link to the video tomorrow morning. This level here is around 28.8, 28.9. As long as we, on any pullbacks, we sit on top of that, the next level up is 33.3, 33,400 area. The issue we have is we are dealing with this big triangle that broke up and then collapsed.
The fake out.
Yeah, back in May, June of last year. So we're trying to chew through that. It's doing a decent job. We're about in the middle of it right now. So we have to watch and see, how long it's going to take here. But the key place to look is this full square, right? As long as we're above it, odds favor we keep pushing higher. If we fail here and get stuck under it, then it's back down to the half square here around 24,400.
Right.
Anything to add to that, Barry? It's pretty straightforward. We were watching this triangle and this congestion, and we broke up. So now we want to see if it can maintain the breakout.
Well, we talked about how, when it goes sideways at one of these key points, tight to the line, it's kind of bullish.
Yep.
And we got the triangle break, and we have to play by the book. Long as it's above that level, it's in a bullish position. Long sides are okay.
Absolutely.
And yeah.
All right, let me throw it over to you, and let's get into the big five and see what's happening in these major markets. Man, tapping up on that ABC again, huh?
Boy, just never left it, really.
Yeah. Which is also bullish, as we talked about, right? When you don't get much of a correction in price and it just goes sideways, the prevailing trend is pretty bullish.
These kind of spots are, always a little bit tricky. And it's funny, we talk about that. I posted this chart today.
That's a great chart. That is a great chart.
And the thing here is, look at, if you look at 41.64 and the 42.30 zone, and you go back here, you can see, look at this. We almost 2 months we were going sideways here. Chop,
right?
Chop, right?
Right.
And then we pulled above. Then here we found support and bounced. Here, 1, 2, 3, 4. Maybe the fifth time's the charm. I don't know.
Right.
But here we are, right? And this time with an ABCD coming into that level.
Yep.
And we have a square, we're 180 degrees from the low in October. We're up 90 degrees. So these are, critical levels.
It's not insignificant. Let's put it that way.
Yeah, exactly. And at the same time, what's unusual can always happen, right? That's kind of the norms in the market. So here's a pattern. We held the 50% of the square really well. That tells you the square is working, and we're coming up into the 180. So the thing is, if it's going to play around this much, it's either going to continue sideways or it's probably going to at least try to break to the upside and see what happens there.
Right.
But a lot of things can happen here, and because it's going sideways, it's almost like anything can happen. That's the problem with going in sideways.
Mm-hmm.
And so it sounds like, well, we don't know what's going on. Well, I don't. It just
And
all I can
sometimes
say
you don't. I mean, that's
no.
the thing.
And one of the times you really don't is when it's going sideways.
Mm-hmm.
And well, here we are. And you know what they say? Don't, when the market runs up and it starts going sideways, you never want to short that
Right.
without having probable cause.
Right. Right.
And here, if you really take a closer look, we're making higher highs and higher lows. So it's very, very possible that we break to the upside, because if that square had some traction, we wouldn't be hanging around up here for that long.
Mm-hmm.
Speaking, we're not talking about options levels and all this other stuff, gamma levels. We're just talking about the square. And we had a nice ABCD to cap it off, the green one.
Yeah.
Now we also had this larger one that, targets above 42.30. We'll have to see what happens. For now, I think the most likely thing is we're probably going to stay in the range.
Right. More chop.
And like I said today earlier on Twitter, if we get above 41.64, then we can reasonably expect it to reach up into 42.30. And if 42.30 gets taken out, or we settle above 42.30, then I think we have at least 100 points to the upside.
Mm-hmm.
And that's where we're at.
What are you using to define the bottom of the range now?
Well, I'm just using the price because we've had
Mm-hmm.
really good lower levels getting tested. So he's right at 4,100.
Right.
And so we can even draw a box in here if you want to.
Mm-hmm.
There we are. And today, that could easily be a false break. What we did
Right.
sure acted like it, right? I mean, we had the false break come in, then it just sold off. So it has the signs of a false break. And we did sell off pretty well, but I don't know. It's hard to say on a Friday, a lot of option expiration activity going on. So
Right.
we'll see what happens. But for now, we're really focused on this block and to see if we can get above it. Really, the relief comes if we can hold above 41.64 and then somehow grind out or pop up above 42.30. Maybe we can get a little bit of a run. We got earnings season coming up, so maybe things will happen. And looking at see if the weeklies could give us any clues. Well, pretty much the same state. We're stuck at exactly at the top of a triangle.
Right.
So it's either make or break. And we've been putting, we had this week we had a higher low and a higher high. So it's kind of hinting at grinding higher. So we'll have to go with that. That's all I got to say. You want to add anything to that?
No, the triangles are tough, man. We got to break out. We got to break out.
Yeah, got to break out.
Same thing in the NQs, which I'll show you in a moment.
Yeah, and that triangle is here. That triangle is here. It's just, let's move on to bonds.
Now, bonds are looking interesting.
Yeah, bonds are working out pretty much.
The major trend looks like it may be starting to take over again.
Yeah, and it's starting at the correct point, which is that 134 level we talked about. That's 50% of the square, and we got that. We hit it a couple of times and turned back down. So this looks good, but till we take out the bottom of this range, can't really confirm. But so far, like you said, maybe we're getting back into the trend.
Right.
We'll see. So for next week, I'm expecting, if this trend continues, we should go up and test 128. Or if you want to really stick by the boundary, let's say 129, that would be the lower boundaries, right? And if that 129 goes, then I think we can say, now we're going to start the new run, right?
Yep.
And what else was up at this high other than the 134? It's one of your favorite tools, right? The equilibrium line,
Oh, I love those. Yep.
right? Look at that.
Very nice.
Right
Yeah,
to the
right.
bar.
Yep.
And of course, we had this drawn in before the price came in because you
Right.
can't really move these around. They're locked into X, A, B, C. So,
Right. They're set off the Gartley.
mhm.
Hmm.
And because that hit, that well, we can expect it to get back down into at least the median line, the middle line,
The
and
XB. Yep.
that's XB line. So that's, it depends on when we get there.
Hmm.
It's certainly below 128.
Yeah, that's true.
So keep an eye on that. So the bonds look like it's back on track.
Yep. I noticed that in my scan. Bonds look
Mhm.
like that.
And here's a little bit of a extra confirmation. We had the expanding triangle, and last week I said, "Hey, listen, we're at the top of the triangle,
Yep.
and the way we should really shift is if we take out last week's low, we should really start moving lower." And here we are doing that.
Yep. Yeah, bonds look good.
hmm Let's move on to
Short side.
Yep. Crude, man, everything's hitting marks again. Always wait till Friday.
Yeah.
So here's 83. When we were at 73, when we were at 64, 75, 65 level, we squared out at this 270.
That was a good
And
square. Yep.
it was a
Good
good
square,
square.
good low.
And we called out and said, hey, that works. So the next level is going to be 73, and we can get about 73. We're looking for 83.
Here we are.
Basically 10-point runs, and here we are at 83. Now it gets a little interesting because we're really at the upper boundary of that, of that move. Yeah.
Mhm.
So let's see how that works out. For now, I think we have to be patient to see if we can break out of this 90, because that's really the key level to watch.
And a pullback that gave you a higher low would not be bearish either.
No, that'd be great.
Yeah.
And half square would be right between 83 and the 91 levels we have here.
Right.
And that would be about 87, a little bit above 87. So, but I think if we can get above 83 at this point, then 91 is really probably where we're going to go.
Hmm.
Looking at our tried and proven levels.
Yep.
So this is basically bullish, might be a grind at the 90, but the key to watch here is that if we can settle above 83 for next week.
But you're pretty comfortable that that low is good, right? Based on what we've seen, price action coming out of it. I mean, I know we liked it going in, but the price action coming out is just confirming it.
Yeah, and plus, that's the only square we had, and that was we basically went 3 quarters. That's pretty good. That's solid.
Mm-hmm.
It's about as solid as they come.
Yeah.
Will it hold forever? I don't know. Will it hold for a few months? Perhaps. Would that be the low for the next few years? Could be.
Possible. Yep.
Well, we just have to trade the direction. So far it looks good. Like I said, the next thing would be to get above 83.
Mm-hmm.
Let's move on to the weekly. We left off last week talking about, this 79, saying if we can hold above that, basically we're bullish. And we did that. Yeah, we did that. So now, the next level really basis weekly would be this 85, 86, this level right there.
Mm-hmm.
So one step at a time, this is doing, price action is fine, right? Will we come back and close the gap? I don't know. Maybe.
Right.
But for now, you trade what's on the table,
The thing that jumps out at me at this chart is that green box was perfect. Look at that. The lows dipped right into it and then turned.
Exactly.
Yep.
Well, everything helped. We had a number of things that came in. So that was our confirmation. This is kind of how we kind of move through things one step at a time, right? We look for tried and tested methods to show up.
Right.
And this box looks like it's just drawn in, but it really isn't because some work goes into figuring out these levels, right, and points. So, and they're good. They're working out. and the 50% worked out. So, I mean, I remember how bearish things were at that low. Do you
Yeah.
remember that? You
Yeah.
know? So you can see how sentiment is always swinging the other way, right at the
Yeah.
corner.
Yeah.
So that was a good lesson. I mean, those lessons are always around,
Ongoing. Yep.
ongoing lessons. Let's move on to gold, who's, doing really extremely well.
Yeah. Very nice.
So gold, I would say the I think the take here is we're sitting above 2000,
Which
and
is
the
bullish.
criteria was to sit above, like this 1980 area, above this high.
Mm-hmm.
And we're doing that. We broke through this triangle that we were forming right at the, this triangle that formed right at the square, end up giving you really nice impulse moves, which we got. You got ABC up.
Mm-hmm.
Now, my take really is that if we can hold above this 1980, we're probably going to go higher, at least into this May 10th, 11th line, which would be 135.
Right.
And the reason I call on that is we had a 90 low to low here.
Right.
I had this, I use all the lines to see, like I had this here last week, try to see if that could possibly be a timeline.
Sure.
135 here. If that was the case, we'd have to take out this 90 to prove that would hold, and it didn't, right? We kind of rallied this week. So now I'll move it over to the lower low.
Mm-hmm.
And this looks like it could be reasonable. So long as we're holding about, 1980, 2000, I think we can probably push higher. Could be consolidate and push higher, closer to the 135. 135 days, yes. Could be set up a false break up here, yep. So I would watch for all of that. But for now, it's bullish. I'm looking good.
Yeah.
And here's the weekly. Of course, stopping there was no accident. That was our half square coming from long time lows.
Really good.
You guys want to see that low? It's way over here in 1999.
1999.
Right?
Right.
And we have three tops here. Test, test, test. Exactly at the same level. And I'm telling you, the square is working like magic. So
Yeah.
let's see.
What's that top of the square there? 2400?
Up here.
Yeah.
Yep, 2400.
That's a
That's
decent
just
target. That's a
270.
decent, yeah, that's a decent target.
Yeah, that's a very good target, especially if we can somehow,
Settle above that half.
settle about like 2050 and kind of sort of consolidate up here. But either way, as long as we're above here, we can have a little bit of movement, but the basic trend is to the upside, like we've been saying all year,
Yep.
And we also called out this low as it was happening, and looks like we got ABCD going. So it's possible we try to run up here and do something by May. We'll have to watch it.
Mm-hmm. Now gold looks good.
Mm-hmm.
And a pause would not be unexpected or bearish at this
Mhm.
point.
Mm-hmm. And here's copper. We were bullish last week, and we got the move up right here. And this is kind of resistance at 3/4 of the square, and copper seems to respect that. So I'm guessing we're going to consolidate probably a little bit longer, but basically on a bullish note.
Agreed.
Nothing super hard coming at it, but it's okay. It's not in a bear market anyway.
No, and if you look at the weekly, it's just a sideways correction. It's not a deep pullback.
Right.
Yeah,
And so this is all bullish, and we're getting above the half square, which is right around 408 that we talk about every week. Now, next week, if we can make lows around 408, around 4, and hold above, that would be very positive, because we did have a 2-week pullback right there, and now we're moving higher. We took out last week's high right there, right? So it's kind of a reversal. So if we can continue that, take out this week's high next week, where copper's looking good. It's moving, it's slow, but it's moving, right?
right.
moving on to the dollar. Here's another good one.
Yeah.
And I just don't know if we're going to go for a, 3 drives or we're going to go for 4 drives here.
Right. Right.
But we do have a very clean looking 3 drives to a low and a false break.
And it looks like you got an outside reversal today too.
And an outside reversal on top of that. So we got, 2, 3, 4 patterns working its way out.
Mhm.
Pretty good. I wouldn't ignore them, So I'm not sure if the correction is finished yet, but square back. But if this is a false break, then we're probably going to run back and test the 90 again. See how that works out.
Mhm.
Not much. And remember this false break and how it came into the quarter of the square, right? Which is also support, right? Don't forget these gray lines. It's not always a half. Quarters also hold some power. If we look at the weekly chart, we can see it's holding. Now, I've been talking about how important it is that we hold above the 90. And if we can do that, this is just gearing up, let's just say.
Yeah.
And this little false break this week could set up another run up basis weekly. Either way, as long as we're above this 90, let's say 101 or so, 101, 100 and a half, 101, it's bullish. It's got a little bit of work to do. If that was a false break and reversal and all of that, let's just see some action next week. But on the long run, this looks like it's found some support clearly, right? 2 weeks came and tested this. So we're looking okay.
Yes, indeed.
Let's go forward to the euro. Well, euro is pretty much almost at 144, which it kind of vibrates to.
Mm-hmm.
And that would be next week, be the Monday, Tuesday. And we know it holds a little bit of power probably because we did, low to low was 72. And from there, it wouldn't be out of line to do a 72 low to high, right? So we're in that zone and we have 144 by 72. So we'll see if it squares out in here. Now, the euro also potentially did a false break up here and an outside reversal. So it's kind of showing some signs, but I'm not really going to trust it till we break down below the 144, which would be around 109. And that's still very early, signals or entry, you could say, meaning we haven't even had a couple of days down yet, right?
Sure.
So, but anyway, we have this 144 coming up, which doesn't happen that often. So I would keep an eye out. We had a false break. We had an outside reversal, kind of mirroring bonds.
Isn't it interesting how you've got gold showing signs of topping, same time the dollar's showing signs of bottoming?
Exactly.
I mean, you can see the capital flows, right? That's how you
Yeah.
see the money moving between
Yeah.
asset classes.
Yeah,
Right?
and the bonds
sold it selling off as well. Yeah.
So it'll be interesting to watch next week how these things, if they're going to stay coupled or what happens. That's all I got for this week. It's kind of slow. It wasn't an exciting week. Some things moved a little bit.
Right.
S&P really didn't do much the last couple of days.
Right.
So, well, we'll wrap it up.
But we did get to potential terminal points in multiple asset classes like bonds and gold and the dollar and maybe even the stock market. Who knows? We'll see.
Right. Yep.
We'll see.
Let's see how it goes. Let me put it back to you. That's all for me.
Okay.
And if you guys like our work, just to remind you guys, click the subscribe and give us some likes if you like our work, and also share, help us grow the channel, and it'll be nice. Anything else I have to remind them? That's it. Oh, and leave comments, if you have any comments or questions or
sure
any ideas that you might have about the markets we cover. It'd be great to hear what you have to say. All right, that's it. Let me put it back to you.
Okay.
we'll cover some commodities.
Yeah.
Well, Ben, here's another triangle. We've been watching triangle
Yeah.
breaking out, right?
They're all over. There's markets that are in them, markets that are breaking out of them, markets that are starting them. It's a lot of triangles. The interesting thing here is look at the battle at this full square. And
Yeah,
for the last 7, 8, 9 days, every day up and down, up and down, up and down. We are getting a close over it, which is short-term bullish, but we really have to break out of this triangle to see what we're going to do.
right.
Once we pick that direction and then retest, either from above here or from below here, then we'll know what the next trend looks like. The other thing I did this week is I drew in an ABCD from the January low.
Mm-hmm.
Puts us up here. It basically calls for the triangle to break up, and we push up, into say 14 to 14,300 in that area.
Mm-hmm.
You can put a little box, and that was a point of a lot of battles back in early 2022. So I wouldn't be surprised if we went up there. But right now we're just trapped in this triangle, and we got to break out. Once we break out, then we can see the direction, depending upon whether we're above or below this 13,100 area.
Mm-hmm.
That's the real key.
Right.
Anything else to add here on NQs?
No, we'll have to wait next week, like we're watching everything else. I mean, I think if it breaks to the upside, we hold the line, like I said, for the S&P, we'll probably have a little bit more upside, maybe even hit that ABCD.
Yeah.
And if we don't, well, we know the lower boundary. So
that's right. Absolutely right. So let's talk about the commodities now. A lot like Barry was showing when he was going over the big five, many of the commodity markets that we've been highlighting and talking about all year hit points where a pause or a correction would not be surprising. Sugar, we had on a daily square, 120 by 180. Cocoa on a daily square, I had a 90 by 144. Those are good squares, right?
mm-hmm.
Gold and silver, you talked about gold. Silver sort of in the same sort of thing. It looks like, we've completed the first, big push up. Now what's going to come next? Another one that jumped out at me was copper, stuck in a triangle, just like the NQs, just like some of the markets you showed. It's not only is the daily in a triangle, but the weekly and monthly are in triangles. So it's bullish, but it's triangulating. It's not quite ready yet. The ones I want to talk about today, to me, look like they're ready to go. Like they've done their things, and they're starting to push where we can get that fast move. So let's jump in and take a look at these three. Start with corn, and you can see why. If we just look at this, the triangle forming from here, it was kind of tight. We pushed up and then went right back into it. Well, look at this push out that we're getting this week.
Right.
Today's bar obviously is beautiful, right? Open on the lows, closed on the highs. New high for the week. So we closed on the high for the week, and we're pushing here on this full square level. That's the next key spot, which is around 673. You can see that we sat on top of here, multiple months, and then got stuck under multiple months here, where if we get and sit on top of that, man, corn's off and running. And it's possible that we could be getting a big run here, because if you look, we had this first push up, we had this pullback, and now we're going again.
Right.
So corn is in a position where I think we can catch a fast move, especially if we get on top of this full square in that, as I said, in the 673 area. Anything else you want to add to corn, or jumps out at you when you're looking at the corn chart here?
Well, man, that's funny, because when you said 673, I have 677. And I was going to say that would be the perfect breakout.
Yeah, it's right around here.
Yep. But we're also, that high in, well, the October, not the October high. Let's see. Yeah, the October high.
Yep, right here.
Uh-huh. From that low in July, that's 72 degrees on my charts.
Mm-hmm.
And I see your square. Yeah, you're right there at 27. Yeah. So
Yep.
anyway, for the big move to start, we would have to actually clear that. But for now, yeah, I think we can slowly get up there.
We also did a really nice A, B, C, D right here
Mm-hmm.
and got a nice reaction off of it. That's what makes me think that, okay, we did the first leg up, did a correction, nice long sort of complex correction, even though it was an A, B, C, D. Look at a lot of chop and a lot of time. And now we're starting to push. So we know the levels to look at, right? 673 is the next one. And then this half square here around 700 would be the next one we got to clear.
Right.
So that's corn. I think it looks good. I think it's worth watching and worth getting involved in. Let's go to the next one. Next one is beans.
Mm-hmm.
Not too dissimilar from corn. Same sort of correction, then triangulating here, although it's hugging the top of the triangle. It hasn't quite broken out yet.
Mm-hmm.
The thing that I like about beans here is this line is really being respected right now. Call it 1486. We pushed through it. We've tested it 1 day, 2 day, 3 days, still held it. Today, when they were driving down towards it, we closed up near the highs.
Mm-hmm.
So the real, get up and go signal is if we take out these highs here, right? That would be we're really running. I like the pattern. It reminds me of corn. It's not as strong as corn yet, but I think this one is, as long as we hold this half square, we have to be looking to the bullish side that we could really push here as well.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know if USDA reports are coming out anytime soon or something, but for some reason, these things are starting to percolate. Anything else to add on beans?
Well, just like the corn, if you take the July low to the August high, that little ABCD up, that range is what we've been inside of, and that range is 60 degrees on my charts. So it's possible, and my 50% of that square, let's say 1435.
So you're down here.
Yeah, so I think long as we're above 1435, the market's in good shape. And of course, we break out that high is when we're going to start this sort of the big level that we're expecting. We'll have to take out that 60-degree point, which would be the August high.
The thing to notice in both corn and beans is the size of the potential base and the breakout if we get out of here.
Yeah.
I mean, you're talking about 8-9 months here.
Mm-hmm.
And that's usually a really good, in commodities anyway, when you get sort of a sideways or consolidation or correction, that's 8 months to a year, and they break out, the move is generally really, really fast and big.
Right.
And so that's what we're looking for here on those. The last one is that we're going to talk about is one of the softs. That's coffee. Coffee, I've been uncomfortably early on for Barry. He hates when I get super early, but man, when these things start tripping off my stuff, I just put them out there because while it's not as a high probability as it's getting to be now, it's enough of a probability where if you can handle, getting stopped out a couple of times, the shot is worth it. And we called this low when it came in. We had the first push up, then we had this pullback, and then here, and this pullback was really interesting because before that we were talking about, look how many times it held the line, right? And then what do? They create some false break move 2-3 days down, and then boom, look at how we've come out of there.
Right.
Closing right on the half square, which is interesting, which is the key level now. Staying on top of this sort of 192 area is super bullish because that's where we made the high here with timing. So next week, I want to see this thing stretch out. If it does start stretching, the next level the next really important level is around 212.
Man, I have 215. It's
Yep.
perfect.
And you can see why, right?
Mhm.
Look at those lows and everything that we held in 2022. It all came down. It was resting there and holding, and then we broke down here. We broke
Mhm.
down through it. So if we get back above it and sit on top here, the bull market in coffee will be full on.
Mhm. Mhm.
But this thing, when it goes, man, the moves are pretty dynamic. Let's go back and look. You can see. Look at when this thing trends. Look at that
Oh, yeah.
in 2021. And I think it's reasonable to think we could do that again after we've had this, this nice sort of correction. It was a beautiful sideways for correction for a while, and then it got aggressive, right? And that
Right.
was the terminal point. And now I think we're starting to build to this next big move up that's going to take out these highs in coffee. Clearly, we're going to run into overhead basically from here to here, right? In this 200 to 212, 215 range. So it's going to have a lot to chew through there. But when
Mhm.
this thing goes and it powers through that, man, the move will be sort of like this. These big up moves.
Yep.
So that's what we're trying to get into with coffee. The key levels right now, we closed right on one of the key levels, which is the 192 area. Staying on top of that will open up, getting up into this really important area, around 212, 211. But I like this one. I think of all the charts that in the commodities right now, this one is set up for the slingshot higher. And we'll see if it's now or does it have to pull back and give us another higher low, right? We have a low, we have a high, we have a higher low, we have a higher high. Do we need to pull back one more time? Could be. But it's looking bullish. Where are you on coffee these days? I know you love to drink it. How about trade it?
Well, trading, I think we're just getting into it.
Yep.
And I like to have it, at least to start moving. Otherwise, you get all this other stuff going on. So now I would really watch the counter trends. 1 or 2 day counter trends should be really good.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And sometimes you and I were talking the other day, sometimes on these commodities, you don't even get a pullback, but you get an inside day that you use as your counter trend, right?
Yeah.
Why don't you
Yeah.
talk a little about that, Barry? Because I think that's important.
Well, inside days are great, long as at the beginning of the whole move,
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
and inside days with reversals are dangerous towards the end of the moves. So
Right.
I think, well, pullbacks are important. Counter trends are everything, and that helps you figure out how strong the trend is. And if you get a 1 day counter trend, we reverse, that's a very strong market. If you get 2 day counter trend in reverse, that's less strong. So the more counter trend days you have, you can say the weaker the trend, right?
Mm-hmm.
So if we look at strong bull markets, you'll see, the counter trends, especially at the beginning, would be very, very, be 1 or 2 days. Those are the ones that give the biggest moves.
Here's an example of one. I was just looking for one to show. You had
Mhm.
this down bar, right? And then you
Mhm.
had inside, bam,
Well, before that, go to the high in September. No, the September
up
high.
here. Yeah.
Yeah. See, you had the high,
Yep.
1, 2 days down, 1 day counter trend,
And then
right?
boom.
Boom, right? That's what I'm
Yeah.
talking about. And in the boom, you get 1, 2, 3 days down. And the next day we take out the prior day's low and then boom, and again. And
Yeah.
then we have 1 day counter trend again. You see that?
Yeah. Yep.
Right into the 50%, right? Can you put the mouse there? One before that.
This one.
Right there. Go down a little bit, right? That high. The 2 bars together. Yeah.
Yeah.
So you see all of those are 1 day counter trends. So you can see that it was strong going into the the square in September low. Yeah. Going into that.
Low. Right.
And that was very, very quick. Boom, boom, boom. And the risk is super low when you can isolate them. If you go to the high in February of 2022, you can see 1, 2, 3 days down, inside day.
Bar, right?
And so that doesn't count. So you have a 1 day counter trend. You reverse that. Boom, boom, 2 days, 1 day counter trend. Boom, boom, 1 day counter trend. Boom, boom.
Yep.
You see.
Yeah, and that's when it starts moving, right?
Yeah,
When you get that
exactly.
movement. And that's, I mean, see, if you look at what we got here, this is the thing that I really like about this one of these markets like this and commodities. When they go, they go.
Well, we had it there too, right? We had the low
Here's an inside bar,
up
right?
day, then we had another inside bar, 1, 2 up, and then 1 day counter trend, and then it
And
took off.
then 7, 8 day
And all
run.
the money's made in that after that 1 day counter trend, because the momentum just picked up, just straight up.
Yeah. I mean, that was like an 8 day run right there.
Yeah, and that's
So
that's how those counter trends go, and you really have to watch them. And those are great entry points because your risk is limited and they're tight. So yeah,
that's the idea, right? That's the objective in these commodities, is to try and catch these legs and catch the runs,
mhm. Maybe
these
we
sort
should
of
talk
runs.
about those, during the show. But then it's gonna end up being a 2 hour show.
No, we don't want to do that. I mean, like you said, it was kind of a quiet week this
Mhm.
week. What are you focusing on next week? What are you watching?
Wow, man, everything that's on these key levels. We got bonds to watch, see if we can continue on. We have S&P at a key level. We're not sure which way it's going to break. Look,
Yep.
possible that we break to the upside, so we have to watch that. Gold looks like we're slowing down. We're at that, big old level coming from years ago.
Right.
So everything is at critical levels. So eyes have to be on everything. Dollar, potential false break.
Right.
Euro, the same thing. So all the big 5 Ys, everything's going other than copper, which is the +1, right? So
Right.
crude, we're right at 83. Can we get above that or not? So everything, came up into points. It was quiet, but you can see how prices kind of crawled into key levels quietly.
And interestingly, I have another hit on that Rebel Yell cycle that you and I've been talking about next Saturday. So that's coming up after this week. So let's see if we chop around or start moving up or down into that, because we're
Right.
gonna have that timing come in as well.
Mm-hmm.
So we'll see. It was okay to have a quiet week after the tumultuous stuff we've seen the last few weeks. So,
Mm-hmm.
but this weekend, as you said, you got to rest up and do your work, because one thing, sure, chaos follows dullness, and that, I think we're gonna start seeing some of these markets pick a direction from these critical points and then start moving.
Mm-hmm.
So
Okay.
everybody have a great week. Thanks for listening. And Barry, have a terrific week, and we'll talk soon.
All right, everybody, have a good week. Thanks, Ben. Good job.
Thanks a lot.
Mhm.
Bye-bye.
Bye.